Welcome, everybody, to the Soulful Sisters podcast. Whoop, whoop.
Episode 2, full episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one. Is that Amanda in the background?
No, I don't know.
Oh, I heard a background noise go, yeah, one episode. I was like,
Weird.
I know. Okay, that's only funny for the viewer, well, for us, because when my sister and I FaceTime in the mornings, she's typically beside her wife having coffee. And I always say that I know that I'm talking to the both of them because she's right beside her. And although I'm talking to my sister, I'll get feedback and comments from my sister's wife, but it's like in the distance.
We call her the peanut gallery because she's always got she's listening. You don't think she's listening. Then all of a sudden she's like, yeah, that's what they said.
And you're like, and I'm like, right? I know. So I've already adapted to the whole, like, I'm talking to both of you in the mornings and not just, so that's why I thought, oh, is she on the other side of your table right now? Like,
Just watching, eating popcorn.
yeah,
No,
right. Okay.
she just said she's here in the background.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure to try to include her. Uh, okay. I'm going to narrate this because we were kind of going over a day ago or 2 days ago, but like what we're going to talk about. And then we both had a crazy busy week and we'd talk about it briefly and then we'd hang up and we'd call each other again. And then other things came up and we've had a crazy week. There's been a lot of really exciting stuff and then some not so exciting stuff kind of go down. That is just life, I guess. Congratulations to my beautiful sister's daughter, my niece, who just got engaged over the weekend. Last
Congratulations.
weekend.
Woo! We get to plan a wedding.
Woo! That's going to be so exciting. And I became a grandma last weekend. A grandma.
Congratulations to you, my beautiful sister and beautiful niece, for birthing this beautiful baby.
Yeah. Yeah. This is honestly, I mean, we're not going to dive too much into that because there is a whole, I think both have, it is an entire episode in itself with regards to like your daughter getting engaged and that sort of the story behind that. And then, of course, my daughter having her baby. There is a big story behind that we won't get into today, but I do want to know more about what's going on for you with this, because you posted a couple days ago or I think it was yesterday or the day before about waking up with anxiety, waking up with feeling anxious because of something that I didn't know, like old past employee being an entrepreneur. So you kind of went on about entrepreneurship. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit and what
Yeah.
happened, like what is going on with that.
Sister, yeah, we didn't get to touch on that, but I just want to say first, congratulations. You know how cool it is so that both my sister and I get to have these big life events that happen on the same weekend. Like, how cool is that? We get to share in each other's joy. I just want to touch on that. That's amazing that we get to have that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on this week. Well, it hasn't really been this week. It's been an ongoing thing, but it's coming to so I have an employee and I had some employees that were disgruntled, I'm going to say, because I sold my business and I had to close things up. I had to tie up loose ends. Like I had bought a car for one of my employees that was in the business name, but I had to take back that car and sell it and get rid of like anything that had to do with the business, any loans owing or anything like that. So, I was the asshole for taking that car back, and I was the asshole that I had to, cut off the phone and not pay the phone bill anymore. And it's just like, and then going into this new situation with this new, not new employee, but an employee that hasn't actually physically worked for me since before COVID. And I don't want to really dive into the whole story, but I definitely feel wronged because I was such a good boss, I believe, but also working from a place of people pleasing, and I don't want them to be mad at me. I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to have the best experience working for me. I'm going to be the best boss ever. And like I really try to live up to that every day. I got taken advantage of like left, right, and center. left, right, and center. And this is a pure example of how I did all that, but I also didn't know, to navigate through like employment standards. I didn't know all the rules. I didn't know you could be an employee and not work. Like I didn't know that. So and the system actually doesn't really favor employers. These employees that are taking advantage of the system, they know the system can fuck you over easily, so easily. So I don't know where I'm really going with that. It's just I feel like still to this day, like it hurts personally. Like as a business owner, your heart and soul goes into these businesses that we're creating, and it really hurts when you come after me and you think that I am discriminating against you because of some sort of reason, yet I, threw you a baby shower at my house. Like, why would I do that? There's things like that that I should never have done. So it's like
Mhm.
hindsight, if I were to own a business today, I would not do anything extra for my employees. Nothing. Like I was
Mm.
the one that was giving birthday cards and getting you flowers and throwing you baby showers at my house and buying you fucking cars. Like why? People, honestly, employees, they're giving you the bare minimum, I think, at this point. And I very well may still be resentful and bitter about it, but like, don't go above and beyond for them unless they're going above and beyond for you. I think that's my biggest lesson. And like, know employment standards like the back of your hand and beat them to
Mm.
the punch because, like, if they can, they will. And I know that
Mhm.
you've experienced this too in entrepreneurship and like struggling with employees. And I know that you're a lot like me in the way that you want to be, friends and be the best boss you can be. And how's that turn
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah. Okay, well, just okay, to sum it up, because I'm thinking of, like, for those listening and stuff, like, from what I am understanding and kind of, like, high level, you were an entrepreneur, you had 2 salons, um, that you managed and operated for how long in total? Like,
Well,
10
the
years?
first one was 12 years. The second location was 3 years,
Yeah.
3, 4 years.
Okay. So you're in entrepreneurship and you're also in an industry. I just want to say, and we do share a lot of similarities in terms of, like, obviously we're entrepreneurs and then we have a team that we manage. The slight difference, maybe it's a bigger difference than a slight, but the difference, like, I'm dealing with kids. I'm dealing with teenagers. And I like to believe it's actually been refreshing hearing your stories, because I'd like to believe that, if I were managing adults, people that are like doing what they're doing, working for you, and it's their career. Nobody's at KB and Co. and it's like their career. Like, this is just sort of a place for them to work while going to school or hang out until they figure out what they're doing with their life. And so I've always believed that if I, maybe if it was a bigger company and I have people that are working for me, when they're in their career, that maybe they're going to behave and act differently. Turns out it's not the case as well most times. And that it's all kind of the same. But for you, you had this business and employing people, you were friends with most of them, if not all of them. You would go over and above. I know that one of your biggest love languages is gifts. God bless, works really well for me. Get a lot of gifts. So I know that that's a big love language of yours. And for me, it's probably not, but I understand the gifts thing in my particular industry of, like, having staff that are just making minimum wage plus tips. So they're not making as much money as, say, somebody that's in their career is going to make. I would also shower them with gifts because it was cheaper, and it was cheaper to, like, buy them a gift card to Aritzia than, like, give them raises. I couldn't afford the business necessarily couldn't afford raises, but it could afford the gift card here and there, and like, incentivize them in those ways. So I understand, like, that the idea of gifts. So you're gifting your employees, you're friends with most of them. I know that you guys have had a lot of, like, events together. And, you talk about, like, throwing a baby shower for this person, for a particular person. You bought a car for your right hand at the time, which made sense, buying it through the company and then providing him with a vehicle so that he can work between the two locations. And so then you sell your business And yeah, naturally, there are loose ends that okay, like, I mean, then what happens with the car? What happens with phone bills that you're paying for? I mean, naturally, that's going to come to an end. So then, correct me too if I'm wrong, but like, then you're receiving, which is just so fucking bizarre. Then you're receiving the backlash of that. Like, you're taking my car back. Well, it's not your car to begin with, and you're not paying for my phone bill anymore. Well, hello, I don't employ you anymore. I've sold the business. That's not my problem. And then there's this like these employees that you've had for years then turn on you like so quickly, turn on you for these like for things that you had to do like for just wrapping up those things
Yeah,
when you
selling the
start and
business.
then yeah, and then you're like roll like in your mind playing back all of the things, all of the stuff that you've done, all of the things that you've done for these employees. I would imagine that feels like a real freaking stab in the dark, and that's a reference we'll tell you, the stab in the
Point
dark.
reference from our other sister. Love, bless, but it's so funny.
Yeah, she once said when we were little that she feels like we all stab her in the dark, and I think she meant to say stab her in the back, but we've been running with this.
In the
This
dark.
stab in the dark. Stab me in the dark. So
Yeah, so
now
quote
you're
stab in the
feeling
dark.
yeah. But I just wanna say too, like, that has been at least 2, 3 years ago where all of this stuff was playing out with, like, the car thing and the phone bill thing and, like, wrapping that all up and losing you lost friends. You closed the business. You had employees that became friends that you thought would continue to be your friends, but then you lost friends through that transaction. And I know firsthand because you shared those details with me that was really painful and really hard, really, really hard for you to go through and move through. So now we're okay, it's been 2, 3 years. When you're not an entrepreneur anymore in the way of like owning a business, you're doing a lot of other different things. Look at us here.
Yeah.
This is kind of entrepreneurial.
Yep.
But now something is still, I guess, like flat out somebody is kind of coming after you for whatever benefits that they feel like they didn't get, the compensation, all of that. It's kind of we're like now years later, and this person also, when you close a business, hadn't worked for you
Hadn't
for
physically, like, worked, but, like, because I didn't know the system and I just was like, "Oh, okay, I'll fill out this form for you. Sure. Fill out this form for you." What they were doing was maintaining that they were still employed for me, even
mm,
3 years later after when I sold the business. So and because I was ignorant to that, when I sold the business and I told them, like, "Your the new owners don't wanna to bring you on because you haven't worked for 3 years, then all of a sudden I'm discriminating against them and I owe severance and all these things. And yes, I did owe severance, which I didn't know, even though giving them 2 weeks notice. But now it's like they were fired for discrimination of a disability, which to me is confusing because at the time it was like, it was, mental leave, it was I got in a couple accidents and now I'm suing ICBC 2 times for injury, like, there was all these leaves and injuries and all these things, and not once did I ever know that there was a disability. I was like,
mm.
"Where's this coming from now?" And for me, I don't even know, like, how to wrap my head around that because my opinion after the fact of their personality and like, is a little bit of a like opportunist, I want to say. Wh- But again, the system isn't really on our side. So my actual meeting is at the end of the month. So stay tuned for that because most likely I'll
And
have to pay.
yeah, and this is like so the meetings to for those who are not following my sister personally, well, get over there and give her a follow. But she did post that she was, woke up anxious because she had a call with a lawyer.
Yeah, my
Is
employment
that
lawyer that I
your lawyer?
got
Your employment?
3 years ago for
Okay,
like other stuff that has now been finalized. But like this isn't the only person that's tried to swindle me for some money after the fact, but those cases
right.
are closed because it didn't work. This is just the last one.
So I guess I mean I'm still in the space of employing employees, and I have been through a few different and awful situations with employees where I did not know all of the rules of the employee's rights. There's so much more to frick when I think of, especially when you have employees. I think there's so much more to entrepreneurship than people even think. I mean, I remember just this was like 25 years ago and jumping into it. And so I was young, but I remember just learning about GST. I'm like, why do I have to pay the GST? Like that was, like, and then never mind the write-offs and
Right.
trying to understand all
Source
of that and what
deductions
is,
and, like, all the taxes. You think you're making money all of a sudden, then your bookkeeper's like, "Oh, you have source deductions every quarter." I'm like, "What the
yeah,
hell are those?"
yeah. Oh my goodness, the remittances. So I pay, if, an employee on the corporate side, and then, there's like her wage, and then I'm like, wait, I'm paying, and I pay her a net pay. And then in like every month I have to pay like the remittances, so like the taxes. So then that comes out of the account and that's in the thousands. And I'm like, well, I don't understand. Like it's just, it does when you kind of sit back, you're like, where is the money? But I have been burned by employees. I have for sure. And employees that, okay, I remember my first employee, not my first, one of my first employees at my location was a prep cook, and she was so awesome. Like she was the best. And we became kind of like friendsies. Like, I wasn't like super, I was super, I was just, I was like a somewhat strict boss about like the job. And then outside of that, I'm like, I want to be playful and have fun. And she was just like the best employee. Like she was so great and funny. And I think she was with me for sure at least a year. And in that time, I ended up buying her a Vitamix. Like, okay, that's insane. Like when I think back to that, this is like one of the times where I feel like I was really like butthurt over. And I didn't buy her the Vitamix because I wanted to be like, oh, look what I bought you. Like it wasn't any of that. It was actually on sale. And, the first location was doing really well. After the first 8 months, it started to do really well. And so like the second year there was good cash flow and it was a gift. And she really wanted a Vitamix because we use a lot of Vitamixes in the stores. And she was like, I would love a Vitamix one day. And I just thought I'd gift her with a Vitamix that was it was on sale. And then I think it was like 2 or 3 months later, she ended up leaving, but she left. It was bad. I actually don't even really remember the details, but it was like this explosive, like she got mad and like was like, I'm not coming back. I quit. And I remember calling another employee who I had become like kind of close with. I was like, I think I was crying about it actually. I think I was like,
With the other
why are
employee.
they
Oh, yeah, I've done
yeah,
that.
see,
See,
that
that's
sounds,
so
like, so
dumb.
awful to say, guys, but this employee that I called, like, to this day is still, like, a very good friend, so we became friends right away, and, I mean, I called this employee not because really I was like, "Oh my god," I think it was more about, like, what are we gonna do? Because like, she had such a big role in the business, like, the prep person is, like, the backbone of the business. And this other employer was like, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out. Like, maybe we can get so and so to come help and all the things." And I remember saying, "Man, I just bought her a Vitamix. Like, why would she?" And I didn't want, never wanted to be like, because I don't think that, I don't think there's a place. I know that we can. This is where I'm like, I don't think there's a place for when, if you're in any relationship with somebody and you buy them something, that if the relationship falls apart, if it's your employee or a friend or anybody, I don't think that there's a place where you should be like, I bought them these things. Like, I think that, right? Like, and so I wasn't trying to be like, I just bought her. How could she do that to me? But I mean, even though it's probably what I was saying. I try not to get, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I try not to buy things for people to be like, oh, this is what I got for you. You
Yeah,
owe
like,
me. It's
I did this
certainly
for
not
you.
that.
What are you doing for me? Like,
Yeah.
it's like a what do they call it? Like, transactional.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely didn't at the time. You know this because you're a gifty person, but when you're giving somebody a gift and they're like so happy and it just was like nothing for you really to like spend $50 or like even bringing the staff in some donuts. Or I remember back in the day on Saturdays were our busiest days. I would go out to the market and we would grab this like big plate of green onion cakes. And that was just, like, on the house, and I would bring it back because none of us got a break on the market Saturdays, it was insane, and they were just, like, so happy to have, like, green onion cake, and, like, you don't do it to be like, "Look what I'm doing for you." Like, it was never about that, but then when they leave, and for sure, like, then you're like, "Oh, but I got you a car.
Onion cake.
I bought you what about all the green onion cake I bought you on Saturdays? That's so rude." I think that so I guess the lessons okay, I don't know if I'm learning because I think I don't know if I need to learn. So here's the thing. I think like so you mentioned earlier
I
that
do wanna, like, there are those employees that are gems. Like, and I've
yeah,
been so blessed and so lucky to have experienced, like, and especially, like you said, the ones that have like, because 'cause they're chosen careers in my business. This is what they do. This is their whole life. So, I have experienced, I can just think of, like, 4 off the top of my head of, like, amazing employees that really believed in me and my brand, and I don't know why, for some reason, like, didn't befriend those ones the best. Like, I always thought we were close, but, like, the more, I guess, toxic ones, and maybe it's because I'm attracting that because 'cause I'm unhealed. Like, there's so many things when I look back and the way I operated was because I was looking for, love in all the wrong places kinda thing, that the old saying goes, but, there are those employees, and I'm sure you can agree with that, is that there's some gems, and those are the ones that make you keep going. Those are the ones that I wanna do these great things for them because they're so special in my heart, and they've, like, made, my business even better because 'cause they're there. So, I don't wanna forget about those, but it makes it really hard when you have the bad apples mixed in there and you're trying to navigate through, like, the beautiful employees that, you wake up every day for, "This is why I'm doing what I'm doing," and then you got, like, the rotten apple that's, poisoning the whole bunch. It's so hard as an emotional person to navigate through all that, and, I don't wanna not acknowledge the good ones, and I don't wanna talk only about, the bad experiences because there was some beautiful moments in
yeah.
my entrepreneurship time that, like, is above and beyond anything that I could have ever even dreamed of at that time to experience, and so, it's
And these are people that are still with these are people that are still with you today as friends.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then it's how do you I mean, and again, you're not in a space, the entrepreneurial space of having employees. I still am. Well, I haven't been buying any big gifts. I haven't certainly bought a Vitamix since, but I have taken employees on actual trips and all paid trips and I have and I still and I don't regret. And these are still these and some of these employees are employees I still talk to and some I don't. And not that anything, like, bad really happened, it's just, like, we grew apart or whatever it is. I mean, you have to remember they were also a lot younger. I try to stay in touch, I try to still connect with people that have worked for me or spent a lot of time with me, but then it's sometimes hard time and, life and all the things get in the way, but I still operate from, I think, a place of, like, heart open. I don't feel jaded. Do you feel jaded? Like, there's a part of you that feels jaded.
Do I think I do. I think I feel like if someone were to say to me what was, excuse me, the best part or the worst part about entrepreneurship, I'd say managing the people. Like they both go hand in hand, but like my heart to this day is really like hurt. Like I'm hurt and I don't know if I were to do it again, I don't know that I would be heart open. I don't think I would. I think I would be very book by the book. These are the rules. I would have really strong boundaries. I would shut off my emotions. I wouldn't let anyone in. But is that because I'm still hurt? Probably. And would I say this next year? Probably not. The
Yeah.
memories of all the good things will probably outlast these last scragglers of people trying to take advantage. I don't know, but like asking me today, I'd be like, fuck employees. they're gonna take whatever they can from you. They're gonna hurt you, and I just don't be heart open. You're gonna get hurt, and
Yeah.
that's where I am today. And like I said, I might not be there next year, and I probably won't. I probably have forgiveness in my heart and ready to move forward with love and compassion. But today, I'm still pretty fucking angry.
Yeah, I think you're letting the emotion yeah, 'cause I don't think that you knowing what I know about you, I don't think that you would live in the place of, like, yeah, you're gonna treat them like they're an employee and that's it. I don't think you have it in you if you were to, in the future, ever I don't know, brick and mortar or online or whatever the business is and have employees under you. I know for me, I never want to and I have been through some painful experiences with team members that have cost me thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. And yeah, at that time and through that whole process, I remember thinking, "Fuck you all. Fuck this. I'm not even gonna" I would think about the employees that gone after me, and I would think like, "You held Leah, like you were there for like you helped me watch like you were there for me. And I thought you understood the struggle and the hardships that, I was going through." Um, yeah, there is like a yuckiness to it. There does feel like there's this like shut off, like I'm not gonna give anybody more than I need to. And then you start creating like actual contracts or like you start making sure that you're documenting everything. And if I, in hindsight, can take away anything, like I think that was the lesson in that particular instance with the Kelowna situation. I now just, like, document everything, and I make sure that if somebody is like, I don't mind working, like, here in Alberta, we have that, like, rule of work a minimum of 3 hours if somebody comes in, and in my business, 3 hours is, like it's mostly doable, but then there the odd day where it's, like, super slow, um, and I just need to send somebody home rather than taking somebody's word for like, "Yeah, don't worry about the 3 hours, like, I'll just leave at 2." Like, "No, you can, like, put that in an email and send that to me." That's where I am at with people that, like, I still want documentation, but also I'm staying in this place of, like, softness still, and I'm still bringing in not as much, but, things for the staff, and I'm still trying to reward them and gift them and, like, do nice things. But I'm certainly taking the business side of things more seriously. You don't know what you don't know. So there's like, you learn, you live and learn. And then, but once you learn, then actually taking responsibility and like making sure that you're documenting those things. I think you would stay soft. I just think you would be documenting everything and
Yeah,
making sure that
that's I
everything is
remember
like,
when I first bought this my salon, and it was downtown, and the person that I had bought it from had told me that. And for some reason I it went over my head. I didn't know what they meant by that. And then definitely about 8 or 9 years in, I remembered that and knew why she said that. It was
yeah,
like, wow, okay. And that's, you always think the best of people and what you're offering and your full heart. And, not everyone is like that. And I guess that's why, at this point, I'm still resentful. I'm still jaded because I've, lost my faith in humanity a little bit when it comes to dealing with people and especially employees, and what they're capable of is unreal.
yeah. I think No, I know what you're saying. I remember people telling me that in the very beginning and years ago. And I used to think, oh, it's probably just happened to you because you're not like a cool boss. I would think that. I'm like,
Not nice like me.
yeah, like I'm gonna be very different. I'm gonna have a different approach. Like I'm not gonna have any issues. But and then you do. And then you learn through that. Yeah, I still believe that there is still a way, this they say like don't be friends with your employees. I don't know, I still it's still achievable, and it would define friends too, like, I'm not going out with them on the weekends, but in the past I did. So I did, like, I would take them out all the time and we go do stuff, and I think that I mean, just now, like, I'm just too busy for all the things for going out. I guess there's definitely personal relationships that I feel I have with all of my employees right now. And I think that the way I kind of stay in that like neutral space while still being their friend, but also being their employer is honest, like open communication. And then having documentation, like being serious about that kind of stuff, but then still inquiring about what they were up to on the weekend. Like still, I still want that personal relationship with them. I still want to befriend them and be there for them. I mean, I'm like more of like mama bear, mama KB in the house, but
Yeah.
um, you know, I'm definitely more vocal about the communication and like um when things aren't comfortable, when I'm feeling like instead of pleasing them, people pleasing, instead of being like, "Oh, I don't wanna rock the boat, I don't wanna say anything because I don't wanna upset them or piss them off," I just like, I address things immediately and then document it
Yeah. And
immediately.
that's like lesson learned, right? Through the
Yeah.
process. And like I said, I think at the time I was operating from an unhealed version of myself. So I did things to receive in a way, like to receive love, to receive acceptance, to, make a family out of employees because I didn't have a family. Like,
Yeah.
I look back and I look at how I operated and took things so personally and just gave and gave and gave, but not be like not out of I don't wanna say out of the goodness of my heart, but out of the goodness of my heart because I wanted to feel accepted and I respected and all those things. So, I was totally operating from the wrong system when I was an entrepreneur. 100%. I can say that now. I'm 2.5 years sober, and if I owned a business now, yeah, I would do things a lot differently for sure. And I wouldn't be operating from that people pleasing. And definitely in the space that you're talking about, like more communication, more documentation. I wouldn't give until proven that it was safe to do so, I feel like. And that's with any
Okay.
relationship.
Yeah. Okay. This is so interesting. You touched on this, and I think this ties to I was gonna mention this earlier when you had talked about, like, the space and the place that you were in from, like, how you were feeling about yourself, and
Mhm.
so, like, this attracting certain people. It made me think of when back in the day when people used to quit in the earlier years, I used to get really emotional about it, and I would be really sad, and I know that I have abandonment issues. I definitely like, when people leave, I feel like it's something I've done even though they are, like, just going back just going to do their fulfill their career, the career they've gone to school for the last 4 years, and KB& Co has been, like, the side hustle, and they're leaving to go be a nurse, and I'm like, "Why? Why are you leaving me?" And I remember somebody saying to me she was, like I was gonna say, like, a light worker, but, like, she was, in that space of healing and wellness and stuff, and she made a comment about she said, I think you have abandonment issues." Like, I think and I think she caught me, she came into the store and I think she caught me she was a regular that I kind of befriended, right? Like, you get to know your regulars, and so I would always chat with her, and she caught me on a day where I think I had lost, like, 2 or 3 employees, and I was like, "So and so left," and I was getting emotional about it, and she was able to kind of pinpoint that, like, "I think you have some abandonment issues," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong," but I didn't think that it was going to affect me as an entrepreneur, but, I mean, this is maybe a whole other segment because as I've been over the last 5 years, like, really deep diving into healing, I'm learning and was introduced 5 years ago that how I am showing up today as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a boss, as a mother, as a wife, as all these things, how I'm showing up as a sister is like this is sort of an accumulation of, like is your story of, like, what you've gone through. And so I think it's interesting how you talk about because I think that as you've gotten more secure and more you've, like, been loving yourself more, like because you talk about you were doing things because they were providing this sense of family to you, and you might have been giving in that way because you were trying to acceptance is what you said. And now that I believe that you're no longer searching for acceptance. I mean, I think we all are in some small ways. That's I think just human nature, but I think you're moving from to a more secure. attached style that I bet you anything, naturally, you're gonna show up as a different leader if you were to be leading people right now. And I think maybe that's where, as I mentioned earlier, like, I don't really buy gifts for anybody anymore. Like, I still do nice things for my staff, but I can see that as I've been healing myself, I'm showing up differently as an employer. And it's not bad. I mean, I still have the same employees that I've had for years, and I actually think it's making me a better leader and boss as I've healed myself. It's crazy because I didn't go into that healing to say, like, I need to be a better entrepreneur. Like, I need to be a better leader. I need to be a better manager. I didn't go into it for those reasons, but naturally, once you heal yourself, how you show up is going to
Yeah.
change.
Well, I definitely wouldn't be taking things as personally as I did back then. Like, I could give a fuck about what you do because it's like my reactions, anyone's reactions, like that's always on them and how they're feeling about themselves. Like we just talked about, like they're operating from a space we don't even know about. So I don't take things so personally anymore. So that would be like a huge win because I too was like, somebody would leave and like these girls have been with me for, 6, 7, 8 years. And I'm like, oh my God, why are you leaving me? And they're like, well, I want to go out on my own. I want to open my own salon. I want to do what you're doing. And you're like, no, stay. Like,
Yeah.
that's so silly. Like, of course you're going to grow. Of course you're going to leave and bloom in different ways and grow in and heal or whatever you need to do. But like, it's just funny how definitely thinking back, like how personally I took everything and how emotionally invested I was in everybody's lives and even their moods. Like I could walk into the salon and I could pinpoint, I could be like, what's wrong with, Candy today? Like something's wrong. I would ask the other girls, something's wrong. And then, I would be so invested and want to heal them in ways that like I'm just your boss. Like why am I even involving myself? So it's
Yeah.
the end and it kind of switched where I was like, leave your shit at the door. And then I started to become a little harder and less interested in personal matters, but like in a jaded kind of bitter kind of way. So when I
See,
sold,
and yeah, go ahead.
I didn't want to be there anymore. I was done. I was done like a good year and a half before even, this,
You had actually sold it.
yeah. And I wish I
See,
like
yeah,
let it go
I had
before it got ugly.
you wish you had what? Sorry?
I wish I had let it go and, like, followed my heart because I had said so many times, "I gotta sell, I gotta sell, I gotta sell," and, there's those golden employees that are like, "No, I don't want a new owner, love you, and let's make this work," or whatever, and then you're like, "Okay, I'll do it for them," but I knew I had to go because I mentally, physically, I was exhausted, I was done.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I definitely have had those days, but I do think, I mean, I know I'm not, like, done, but when I have those days, I try to think of how I can approach or what I mean, well, I'm not there. I'm not there where I'm, like, done. Employees haven't completely jaded me, but I wanted to touch on where you talk about, like, coming in and you can, like, feel the energy and you know that it's off, and then you're like that personal investment. It's interesting because I used to also feel very much I feel people's energy. I think we all do to some degree, unless you're a real dodo. I don't know. I don't know how you don't like pick up on somebody's mood. I'm like, like how do you like it's
True,
so obvious.
bro.
Yeah, I'm like, it's yeah, crazy. But I would go into the store and I could feel if somebody's not okay. Like, I would feel that immediately, and I used to it then would make me feel not okay, and I could see that the other staff were not okay, and I would be uncomfortable, and I would wonder if I should say something to the person who I think is not okay, and then I would have all these stories in my head that I would start making up, and it would just be this, like, like, I'd be this ball of anxiousness, and I just remember I that has happened so many times for sure, especially with, like, mostly female employees that just are the only kind of people that apply and hire, just they're the only ones walking through the door to apply. And then, their time of the month, if they're all in the same, like and you know this, it's interesting. But now and recently, like over the past year and a half, I've had employees. I had one in particular that was consistently moody. And when that person was moody, my approach was so different. has been so different where, like, I come in and I would sense it immediately, and then I would take that person to the back and say, "Is there anything that I can help you with?" Like, I can feel that there's something's not quite right, and that person would like, "Oh, no, I'm fine, I'm fine." I'm like, "No," because I can feel the energy of everybody else,
Yeah,
and I
well,
would say, "Is there something
face
that"
it, because like,
Yeah,
your attitude is telling me you're not fine. So unless you're gonna change
yeah,
that, don't tell me you're
yeah, you right. But they'll and there's only so much prying again as like an employer that you can do and meddling without crossing any boundaries or crossing any lines. So I'm careful of that, but I always offer like, is there anything that I can support you with? Is there something that I can help you with? And if not, okay, so we got to turn this around, like now or like go home. And that's like, I'm not going to let this affect me. I'm not going to let it affect my team. It's unfair to my team that you're walking around here with this mood. So if you're not able to turn it around, you need to leave. Unless you want to have an open discussion about how I can, like, if there's something that I can support you or help you with. If it's something that is, what is a thing that I learned early on? This was a Lululemon thing. An employee told me this, that when somebody is like in this state or whatever, like, how can I support you? Or how can I help you to be better? Or something. There's some sort of question that like flips the script and then it makes the other person feel like, I don't
accountable.
know. I think nothing. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so it is a good question. That's like, how can I support you right now? Like, what do you need? And then they're like, well, like nothing. Cause they then realize this is about me. This is I'm in a mood because of something that happened at home or whatever, and then that's just sort of like this awkwardness, and it's always worked for me, and they're able to usually turn it around and respect that, and I no longer attach to it. I no longer am like, "Okay, I'm not." And I still work with girls, like staff who can get into these moods, and I'm like, "Hey, I can feel there's a mood," and it's interesting. I think truly it's a sign of like, um my own, like, healing to let it bounce. You and I actually have personally over the last, like, 2 years, there have been, like, a few handfuls, small handful, like 2 or 3 times maybe where I'm in a mood, I'm in a mood, and it's just like you'll try to, like, "Everything okay? Is there anything I can help you with?" And then I'm like, "I just need to no, no, I'm" and then you're like, "Okay," and then there's no, like
Yeah.
whereas, like, that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago.
No,
It's a huge
like,
fight.
you're being a bitch to me. I can't deal with this. We're
And then yeah, and then I'm like
space.
yeah, and I'm like, "Can I not just be upset, like, and then I feel like I don't get any validation, like, I'm not supposed to feel this way, and then, like, I'm mad at you for, like, being rude to me, but you're like, "You're rude to me because 'cause you're being a bitch." And I'm like, I
Yeah.
think it's because it's not about you, and if it is, they can tell you, or they can fricking leave if it's
Yeah, well,
about you,
that's
like,
the thing is,
with
like,
reference to
being
staff.
accountable for your emotions and responsible for your own emotions instead of projecting them is such a huge growth, I think, for anyone to grow into, and I feel like most people don't live there. Most people are blaming, pointing fingers. It's your fault I feel this way. There's this biggest saying that says that I hate. I can't stand when people say this. And when they say, you made me feel, and it's like, I didn't fucking make you feel anything. You chose to feel that way. What I said might have offended you because you have, stories in your head about how you are or whatever. But like, I can't make you feel anything unless you story in your head about what that feeling is. So that's like my biggest pet peeve in my growth era when people can say you made me feel. And even I catch myself still to this day, but it's like if something made me feel a certain way, I it's always my trigger warning in my head that's like, why did it make you feel that way? Do you think that person purposely said those comments or made that assumption about you to make you feel the way you do? Or do you actually feel the way you do because you believe that about yourself? You know? So, like, you made me feel insecure, you made me feel not loved, or you made me feel, whatever it is. It's like, well, do you already feel that way about yourself? And, you know,
Yeah.
me just saying that confirmed the story to you, or I don't know. It's kind of we could talk about that all day long. That's such a that's a huge topic.
Yeah, that's a whole other I mean, because that there's so much in that when it comes to other relationships. Like there's that seems to be especially in like, intimate relationships or your or family dynamics where there's like, you made me I totally agree. I totally agree with what you're saying. To okay, we're at like the 55-minute mark. I want to I want to just share the question maybe for you and for me, but so I can already feel like you're softer. I already feel like in the beginning you're like, "I'm done with people
Well, yeah,
fucking employees."
I guess this
So
whole
I wanna
podcast,
ask
this hour healed me.
yeah, yeah, maybe this is
I
all
was
you
like
needed
just
was
close to crying, and I was like, "Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry."
yeah.
And
Okay, well, I wanna ask
everyone knows that anger is actually sadness, right? Let's make that
yeah,
clear.
yeah, it's a suppressed where they say like sadness is suppressed anger, vice versa anger, yeah. But I want to, because I do think that you are still gonna you're still gonna stay soft if you were, and lucky for you, you don't get to manage people right now.
Amen to
What
that.
could Here's what I would say if somebody is having a ongoing challenge or ongoing challenges with employees within the workplace, I would consider looking at yourself. I would consider looking in the mirror. I would consider or invite that person to think about what's going on for them, where they feel like they're truly not being met or honored or I think it's like I say this because truly I know, and I think you can say this too, like I think you would show up differently. I think you would do things differently in the way of abiding by certain laws and making sure that you're on the uppity up of all the things.
Yeah.
And that's how I operate as well now because of those lessons. But I still remain heart open because I think because it's like saying like my ex cheated on me, so I don't trust any man moving forward. Well, like that's not fair to Tom coming into your life. That's so not fair. So like that's
That's
so
true,
so
that's true. And if
see,
I were to
right?
ever, manage
Yeah,
people again, know, I'm self-aware enough to know where I'm coming from now, and, like, if I was operating from a place of where my employees were not happy and things were going awry, I would definitely, for sure, look in the mirror first, and I would hire a coach or somebody that can go in and, like, see it from a different perspective and give you some feedback. I always believe in like hire out what you lack or what you don't know because, a different perspective always leads to some change and healing almost like whether it's in business or entrepreneurship or leading people or personally or relationships, like you gotta
yeah.
hire out.
Actually, I don't think I have any other advice other than that. I think you're right. I think if you can hire somebody to coach you on how to manage and lead better in the way of like I think it's really just going to though come back to because you can be given tools all day long, but if you're not doing the work, like and there are various tools that I mean in different circumstances and that I say tools as in like contracts. Like somebody says, well, you should have contracts in place, and you're like, okay, well, that might not have anything to do with like doing the healing work, right? But if there's like toxicity in the workplace and even if it's not like coming from you, how you're managing it is a problem. Because if it's like going on, if it's going around and continues to go on, then it ultimately I always say in business, I always say that when it comes to bosses and entrepreneurs is shit rolls uphill. I don't know how it does. It's supposed to roll downhill, isn't it? But shit always rolls up.
Oh
Like
yeah.
so you can blame like whenever a staff member does something wrong, Tab, like when they fucked up and it's like, yeah, I can't even give an example right now, but if they fuck up, I think it's at the time when I had somebody managing my store and I was overseeing the manager, it was his fault. And if it wasn't his fault, it was my fault. Like at the end of the day, my point is I always said this is my fault because I didn't train my manager right properly, who could then train you properly.
Yeah,
It rolls
and I
uphill.
I agree, like, looking back now, like, even just through these, court proceedings or these, like, oh, I didn't train myself well, I didn't learn the book, I didn't there's a lot of things that I didn't do to protect myself and to know. where I was standing with these employees and how to manage them properly and where to create boundaries. And, that's the whole lesson in all this for me is that when I look back, like, that's the ignorance. I was ignorant. I was too nice. And then I got resentful and bitter about it because I gave and gave and gave and didn't know what the consequences could be by not knowing the business aspect of what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, like, yeah, I guess that's where the lesson is. Like, if you're knowing your business inside and out and you're like, you got employment standards known by the back of your hand, and then you can operate in a much more sufficient way. I would
Yeah.
say, hire and firing people and not putting up with, bad apples. Like, get them out of there as soon as they start rotting. Because for me, I was always gave it chance after chance after chance. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
those people don't
Yeah.
deserve a second chance. One chance and they're out. And I always gave too many. And then it turned into a big mess. And again,
Yeah.
operating from people pleasing, like, "Oh, I just want them to be happy, and what's wrong? Their, personal life. Oh my gosh, so my business has to suffer because
Mhm.
you're in a shitty mood or shitty life." But like at the same time, I'm allowing that in my business.
Yeah. And I will say, like, in doing so, that definitely sets the tone moving forward. So if somebody, like in my place, is showing up late, you know, I really have like a two strikes, like one, it depending on like, the bus was, even if the bus was late, like that's still like you need to be catch an earlier bus. I don't know, but it's doesn't set a good standard like for the other team members there if you're like letting it slide with one person, if it's like, oh yeah, you can be late all day long, like every shift, and then
Yeah,
everybody else is, yeah. So it just like, I think you're right. I think you have to. I always tell my staff and my new hires, like, you will always know where I stand. You will always, always know, not a week later, not a day later. I always say, if something doesn't make me feel cozy, that's how I address it. I'm not feeling super cozy about the situation or what just happened. I
right.
always communicate that. And I'm only saying like the late example because a girl had, like, shown up late, I think, like, 2 times in a row, and I was like, "That's it. It doesn't look good for everybody else," and I had hired other new employees that this isn't, like, the standard. This isn't the what I'm setting here as a precedent, so I think I guess the advice I would give to listeners that are in the space of entrepreneurship and having to navigate and, like, go through this is to, again, like, I think to really look at self and like, are there things that you need to heal or work through so that you can show up better? And then just
Maybe
really,
reflect
really
on
getting,
where you're operating from too. Like,
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
managing people, like, are you scared to have the hard conversations? Like, I was shitting my pants every staff meeting because I'd have to have these hard housekeeping conversations or like lay down some rules. And I would literally be like physically shaking. Like, why?
mm,
So, like,
mhm,
again, like looking within yourself, why those things are happening, I think is so important. And are you even in the right space to be managing people right now? Or
yeah,
in entrepreneurship or owning a business, maybe you should be working on self growth and healing instead.
right, yeah, yeah. And I think by doing so, you're gonna show up in a different way for sure. Yeah,
Well, this hour healed me. I'm a softer person now because of it.
I think it's the ex boyfriend analogy, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is
that's
because
what
like.
it is. I feel bad for Amanda because of Tom.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't want to. I think it's natural probably for you to like, again, you're not in that space anymore, bless. But, it's natural for you to be like, probably if you were ever like, let's pretend you are, you're gonna have these like, oh, but I still I believe that you're gonna still stay soft and but you're just gonna show up in a different way, in a more healthier way. Clearly, I just know you're operating from a different place. And it really is and wouldn't be fair to somebody who could be like a gem for life. And I have employees that I know even right now that I just know I'll know forever. And they are true gems and that I would get them something. And if they left me in 2 months from now, I would have no regrets because already what they have done for me is already so worth it. And I'm just grateful for that experience. So I try my best not to
Let's
not to
close on
take
that. Let's be grateful
What's
for the
that?
gems. Let's close on that. Be grateful for the gems that
Yeah,
keep us going and kept us going.
yeah.
Like,
Be
I have
grateful for the
such big love for those ones.
yeah, grateful for the gems and keep your heart open. Those are my last comments.
All right. Signing off.
My All right, guys, I guess that's our quick chat, but our topic was just really about entrepreneurship and the struggles of having team members and what that's like. We didn't even really go into detail with experiences that we've had, but happy to in a part 2 if that fancies y'all. And if you guys have any comments or questions or thoughts, please leave some comments
No,
in any
no.
way. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Have
Happy
a wonderful day,
Saturday.
you guys. Happy weekend.
All right. Signing off.